killed Jimmy Hoffa? Where is Jimmy Hoffa buried? Is he even around? We're going to get you all the answers. It may be one of the greatest American mysteries ever. And this guy, he knows where the body's buried, what happened. Scott Burnstein, author of 6 books. He's kind of the mafia reporter and still doing even today.
Yeah.
And you've got a seminar coming up where you are going to tell who killed Jimmy Hoffa.
Big event, July 23rd, Macomb Community College. It's called Hoffa Mystery Solved. And it's a 90-minute, or it's a 2-hour event, 90 minutes of a multimedia presentation, panel discussion, and then we're going to tell everybody who did it, where the body is, and we're gonna put a big bow on this thing, wrap it up after 50 years. All right. And then we're gonna have a 30-minute question and answer. All
right. So people have been. So let's go back. Who is Jimmy Hoffa? Head of the Teamsters. He was. He got convicted.
Yep. He was one of the most recognizable, faces on the planet in the 1960s. I mean, he was the head of the Teamsters Union, which was the biggest labor union in the world. But he was like a head of state, and he was like, the president of the working man.
He got convicted of what?
Got convicted of jury tampering, fraud, and bribery.
Sentenced to 13 years in prison?
Yes, and he did 4.5.
And he got a commutation
from the
President Nixon.
Nixon White House, yes.
So that means he got out of prison.
Got out of jail about 8-9 years early.
Okay. Did he want to run again for the president?
Was obsessed with taking the Teamsters Union back. He had to give up the union as a caveat to getting the commutation. So he gave up the union. He was president in prison for 3 years. I mean, from 67 to 70, he was running the union from prison.
He was running the Teamsters Union from prison.
So 1970, he gives it up. 71, his sentences community comes out.
But that's the deal. But he disputed that deal, though, didn't he?
Right. Well, I mean, my research tells me that he was a fully operated confidential informant at the end of his life. So he had made a deal with the FBI, with the U.S. government, that they would allow him back in the union as long as he rid the union of mob influence.
Okay, let me take you to July 30th, 1975. Where was Jimmy Hoffa on that day? Well,
he began the day in Lake Orion.
This is the day he died.
The day he died. The day he disappeared. He began the day at his house in Lake Orion. He actually had a photo shoot that morning, and there's a famous photo of him that a lot of people use with him kind of with his looking out into the water. Again, it's a famous photo.
He goes to the Marcus Red Fox restaurant.
He goes to a lunch, a mafia-style sit-down that he's expecting at the Marcus Red Fox, which is now Andiamo at 15 and Telegraph. He's supposed to go.
I bet Joe Vicari hates that. Either loves or hates it.
No, I think they embrace it.
They probably like it.
There's a lot of people that come in there and want to take pictures. And
sure, that's your choice.
So he was going to meet Detroit Mafia street boss Tony Giacalone, New Jersey mobster Tony Provenzano, and labor unions consultant Lenny Schultz.
What was the reason for that meeting?
It was a meeting that Hoffa thought was going to clear the way for him to take over the union. The mafia, who was trying to block him at that point, had told him, if you come to this meeting and you bury the hatchet with Tony Provenzano, who was a East Coast mobster that Hoffa had been very close friends with, and then had a really bitter falling out with, if he buried the hatchet with Provenzano, he would be allowed to come back.
But what happened at the meeting?
Well, nobody showed up.
No one showed up.
And he went to a payphone at a hardware store, told his wife that he was going to pick up some steaks at the grocery store, that he had gotten stood up, that he was going to grill the steaks for dinner, and then as he was coming back to his car to go to the grocery store to get those steaks, he was kidnapped by a 1975 maroon-colored Mercury Marquis, the only piece of physical evidence ever collected in the case. It sits in the basement of the McNamara Federal Building for the last 50 years, was confiscated, I believe, on August 10th.
The car's still there?
Car's still there. Only piece of physical evidence ever collected.
Who owned the car?
They were able to. The car was owned by Tony Giacalone's son, Joey Giacalone. We should be very clear. Joey Giacalone was not implicated at all in the crime, but his car was.
He's still alive.
Joey Giacalone's still alive. And
so somebody borrowed Giacalone's car.
The hit team borrowed the car.
The hit team.
Yeah.
There's more than one.
Well, there was 3 people in the car.
Do you know where Hoffa went after that?
Yeah. So that's what we're going to tell people. We're going to tell people.
Where to tell me now? I can't.
They took him to a local. I would say they took him to a private residence in the Bloomfield, Birmingham, Franklin area.
He was killed.
He was killed.
Was he killed that then or after?
No, I believe he was killed. He got into the car at 2:45. I believe he was dead by 3 o'clock.
on the way to the house?
No, I think they took him to the house, which was about 5 minutes from the restaurant, and killed him there.
How'd they kill him? Do you know?
I really think that's probably the only piece of this mystery that we don't know for sure. I think we know 99.9% of everything that happened. I think the only thing we don't know is if he was shot to death, if he was strangled to death, or if he was bludgeoned to death.
So they have a dead body.
Right. Got to get rid of it.
How do they get rid of it?
Well, you got to come to our event on July 23rd, and we'll tell you who did it, and we'll tell you how they dispose of the body.
Is it local, or is it? I heard Giant Stadium in New York. I heard the Renaissance Center in Detroit.
Yeah, I will say that I think people have made this a little bit too complicated. Occam's razor. The most plausible explanation is usually what happened. So
How do you know that you're right?
Well, I'll say this: that I know that this is what the FBI believes. So, I don't know if the FBI is going to come out.
When did they learn this information, and why did they charge anybody?
They came to this conclusion about who did it in around 2012 or 2013.
Well, could they have charged that person?
In theory, they could have at that point.
Why didn't they?
I don't think they had enough evidence to bring a case, but the FBI knows what happened. I hope that on July 30th they hold a press conference and tell everyone what they know. I don't think they will, and that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this event, because I think this thing needs to be put to bed. Too many lingering questions that we have answers for that we have to give people, whether it's me or the FBI.
Real quick, you've got Richard Convertino. He's
former federal prosecutor.
And you've got
Novi Tocco, former member of the Detroit Mafia. So we're hitting it from all three angles. We're hitting it from a research angle, the mob angle, and the prosecution angle.
How old
Novi
is
is 78.
All right. He knows for sure.
Well, he can, like I said, he's speaking from the angle of the crime family. I'm speaking from somebody that's researched it for the last 20 years. And then Rick Convertino's taking it from a prosecutorial context, and I want to give him the props. He figured this out back in '93. And told the FBI, they kind of ignored him, and then 20 years later, they came to the conclusion that Rick had brought them back in the early 90s.
Who killed Jimmy Hoffa? What happened to the body? You will find out. July 23rd. What day of the week is that?
It's a Wednesday night.
Oh, pure.
And then hopefully, if it goes well, we're going to take it on the road.
How much is the ticket?
$30.
Oh, it's just good. I want that car. All right. Seriously, Scott Burnstein,
Thank you
author.
very much.
Look for his stuff. Still writes about crime and mafia. And all kinds of stuff.
GangsterReport.com, Original Gangsters podcast. Check it out.
GangsterReport.com. I love it.
Thank you.
You're great. Thank you so much. I can't wait. All right. For more information, of course, we're going to post this on our website, fox2detroit.com. Quick break. Back in a moment. Okay, who did it? They're not listening. Tell me, who did it?